Good afternoon, everyone. Hope all of you are energized after lunch. Welcome to the first panel of our afternoon session. This panel is about exploring future web's interface layer, the rise of the metaverse, extended reality, and gaming. Um, so all of you might have gone through your own journeys, adopting internet, adopting the different services and products that are available on internet. But one thing is clear, which is as the internet evolves, so does the way it so does the way with which we interact on the internet as well. The platforms that we access, the apps that we use, the hardware devices that we use to explore these things. Today, with this panel, I want to shed more light on this kind of interesting part of the internet. Myself, I'm Rajivan, an investment manager at Blockwall. And without further ado, let me take you to our panel and also welcome to the esteemed panelists that we have brought here. Interestingly, we have tried to bring a well-balanced panel representing diverse point of views, one from the academia, one from the industry, and one from the world of startups and investors. So first, I would love to invite you, Professor Wolfgang Prinz, representing the academia. Professor Prinz is the head of Cooperative Software Systems Research Department at Fraunhofer, a renowned applied IT research organization in Germany. His team explores specifically cutting-edge cooperation technologies, including mixed reality, 5G, blockchain, and Web3. Professor Prinz is also a well-respected voice within the academia. He's still teaching at RWTH Aachen. He's also holds honorary positions in leading German universities such as the Max Planck Institute for Human Cognitive and Brain Sciences.
No.
No,
That's my namesake.
Okay.
That's another Wolfgang Prinz.
Okay.
He's a psychologist.
Very good. Anyway, we welcome you to the panel,
Thank
Professor
you.
Prinz. Next, we have Dr. Jürgen Sturm from the industry. Jürgen is the Chief Information Officer and the Senior VP of Corporate IT at ZF Friedrichshafen, a global leader in advanced mobility solutions. ZF, unlike many corporations, are on the forefront of innovation, driving or kind of exploring these use cases on metaverses and extended reality already. He's also an industry veteran, having held leadership position at Bosch and Siemens Home Appliances, Daimler, to name a few. He's also an active participant in many communities and various IT and expert fields, and also now part of this kind of booming Blockwall community as well. We welcome you as well to this panel. And last but not least, we have Jens, kind of leading the voice of the startups and the investor world. Jens is a Berlin-based serial entrepreneur, renowned for his contribution in the esports and gaming industry. Jens was the founding CEO of ESL. ESL is a German-based esports company, in fact, one of the oldest and the biggest while they were getting acquired. Thereafter, he went and kind of co-founded other companies, such as one of the famous esports team known as G2 Esports. He's also a co-founder of BioSports, a data company focused on the esports industry. These days, Jens is more active as an investor with his fund, Bitcraft, which is exclusively investing into gaming and interactive technologies and holding more than $900 million in AUM. Jens, it's a privilege to have you as well with our
Thank you.
Very good. So since the panel is set up, let's start with the questions. I would love to start with you, Professor. So can you set the stage for all of us by explaining to us what exactly is a metaverse and what is extended reality?
Yeah, if I ever would know that. But extended reality is actually just the way to extend our reality by using smart glasses like the Apple Vision Pro, like the Google Glass that we all had years ago. So it's just an idea that we use additional information that augments our current environment by using different devices. Could also be our smartphone. I think you all have seen these different examples that you put your smartphone on this table, and suddenly you have a tiger on top of the table. And that is quite useful in the area of architecture. We have several applications there. You put a house on this table, and then you can walk around, you can investigate it, and things like that. That's the technology, and that is now standard. You can all do it with your modern smartphones. That's no problem. But I think metaverse is more an idea and a concept. And I think when Mark Zuckerberg came out with this idea of the metaverse, everybody was afraid and said, well, that's the new Facebook, and that's the metaverse where we have to go to. That's the single application that we have to use. But for us, metaverse is not more an idea. And we wrote a paper and saying there is more than one metaverse. Metaverse is a concept, and the idea is really that we have an interaction of the reality and virtuality, and in the middle, we somehow have our digital twins that interact in both. And as a simple example, I can have a machine or can have any device, and I can operate this device here, just in front. I can push a button, and the same is true for a colleague of mine who is operating this in a 3D environment. And then he can interact there. And maybe I'm also visible in his interactive environment. So although I'm here, he can see me, I can see him in my glasses. So we have a complete interaction between the reality and the virtuality in this kind of metaverse. And just for the next weekend, I'm not sure who read the book, Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. That's my recommendation. Read the book, Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson, more than 20 years old. And in the first part, you find the definition of the metaverse. Yeah? Because this is also a book where someone is interacting as a pizza delivery guy, and he is working as a pizza delivery guy in the reality, and in the same hand, he is playing a role in the virtual world. Yeah? And it's both interacting. It's more integration, more and more through the book. And then you can see the positive and negative aspects of that.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Very interesting. And Jens, you kind of come from the gaming world, right? So what's your take on the definition of metaverse and extended reality? What is it for you?
So I think the term metaverse, as alluded to already, is correctly a concept. It's something that I think people oftentimes think of like at some point in time we're switching the metaverse on, like it's going to be there, right? Like here's the moment the metaverse exists right now. The metaverse as a concept is something that gradually comes together around us. And we increasingly find those aspects that define the metaverse impacting our lives in ever bigger ways. For me, with video games, I've sort of felt the presence in a metaverse, in a virtual reality, in a digital simulated world that would give me friendships, that would allow me for economic activity, that would allow me for great entertainment experiences. Already in the 90s, I had the most profound experiences with video games in a game called Quake, which is a game that was very far ahead in the late 90s in terms of its physics engine. The physics engine, the game's engine that creates the physicality around you in a virtual world, in a simulation, is crucial to how you immerse yourself in a virtual world. Nowadays, we all look at the Unreal Engine. I'm sure you all have heard about that. That's like the dominating engine out there that drives most of the like AAA games out there. Mm-hmm. At that point in time, the Quake engine was the most profound one. So me playing Quake with my friends in one persistent world, creating our own assets, sharing them, selling them, trading them, making new friendships, and really having a good time in terms of entertainment and partially sports. That was the roots for esports for me as well. For me, that was the metaverse. It was just shittier graphics. It was poorer networks, so we had some lag. You know, lag is something that disturbs like the immersion. Yeah. But it was already there, right? Now, a lot of technology around us, including blockchain now, gives much more definition, much more substance, and a much deeper immersion ultimately to what the metaverse is becoming around us. Mm-hmm. So I think gaming is very instrumental by the technology that is crucial to what the metaverse is, by the understanding of our digital selves, mm-hmm. our digital identities, which the young generations all find in games around themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Just like me, maybe I've been one of the first geeks out there that have played too many video games in like on that level. But nowadays it's Roblox, it's Fortnite, it's Minecraft that define the kids' youth. Mm-hmm. That is where they grow up with their digital identities first and foremost. And so video games are not only providing technology, they're not only providing the tools, the platforms, but they're also shaping, I think, the understanding and thinking of like, this is my digital self in a digital world.
Absolutely. And you kind of come from the world of industries, right? So, how do you think about
Yeah.
metaverses and extended reality, and specifically, how is it relevant for a corporation such as ZF?
Absolutely. So after this profound introductions of Wolfgang and Jens, it's of course hard to put something on top. So this is why I would like to explore a little bit about the practical thing that is combining all these topics. Because the notion of a digital twin, this is hundreds of years. A two-dimensional drawing has been a digital twin, not digitally, but has been a representation of an engineering piece, whatever. And also the idea to optimize manufacturing plants before they are even built is also decades old. But now, with all the advanced technologies, this is really making a big step forward. And now this immersion on the notion of having a digital twin always in real time, not even before you build a factory. Whilst you are running the operation in the factory, you optimize it. And then I give you a tangible example. During Corona time, we could not travel. So we are large-scale global tier one automotive suppliers. Our customers, like BMW, they come to us, and so before the start of production, they will also audit everything, and usually they traveled to our plant. But in this case, they did this audit virtually, based on technical information, because Unreal Engine or Unity, etc. Nowadays, with the engineering data, there is no barrier to bring this together into, and then so also not before implementing such kind of things. Also, supply chain, everything has a digital twin. We are used also, we as human beings, our medical data is more and more important that we have this in real time in order to optimize life science things. And so I think it becomes omnipresent. It's maybe not yet that it's like an avalanche, but I see this coming a lot. And we have, with the connectivity of many kinds of digital twins, also for regulatory things, ESG criteria, anything, you will find it in the data. And this becomes a kind of multi-dimensional platform, not only about geometrical data, and human beings also being involved then into this topic.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's quite interesting to see that even corporations are looking at this technology as something that can really transform their business practices, right? Coming back to you, Professor, so you kind of look at different technologies, different emerging technologies at Fraunhofer, right? So from your point of view, how important are these two pieces, like the metaverse, extended reality, especially when you think about the way with which we will interact on the internet?
I think it becomes more and more important because a lot of these things that are happening in the IT world and also in the other world become so complicated that it's easier to understand if we can visualize it in a nice way. And here the metaverse or the metaverse idea or 3D environments, they help us to do that. And I see in architecture it becomes more and more important. So we did a lot of experiments in architecture, and nowadays if you want to equip this room, you go to some manufacturers and they always deliver you already 3D objects of everything here. Yeah. So we did this in the early days, and then we put on some glasses and with some iPads we ran around, and then we saw how the room looked like in the future. And you could see some mistakes that we did over there. And I think that is very important, that all manufacturers of things in the future need to publish also a 3D representation of that, plus ways to interact with this thing, to send signals to it or to get data out of this, so to combine the virtuality and the reality in both ways. And for this point, I think, so we have architecture and we have industry, so industrial applications. With gaming, I'm not such an expert. Jens can tell much more about it, but it's really the idea. We did this with some plants nearby where people do maintenance work, do education in 3D environments with the support of others. So they have the expert somewhere else and they interact on the machine, they explain how to do it, And if we then combine it with Web3, we can have identities, credentials about it, and we can report what we did on that machine.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Jens, coming back to you, right? So, how important is these themes within your kind of venture fund, right? You know, is that a space that you are excited to kind of invest going forward? We would be keen to understand what's the kind of the investment thesis that is driving you. What makes you comfortable?
And by these themes, you refer to
Metaverses and
Metaverse.
extended reality.
So I dislike the term, right? Like because I don't feel there's a product out there that's the metaverse.
Yeah.
Like again, the thesis that we have at Bitkraft is the thesis of an increasing amount of humanity, very, very, very likely, inevitably spending an ever larger amount of the time in the simulation. Full stop. Video games companies are the companies that are the best at and at the forefront of powering these simulations at scale and of, to a certain extent, managing and operating them. And now, when you think about that, then there's a ton of super exciting stuff happening that brings all of this together gradually, stepwise. What are some of these aspects that excite us? Let's start with the buzzword of the day, AI. Yeah? AI not only allows us, when we enter digital worlds, to feel like we're within population. Yeah? Sometimes you can enter a virtual world, a room, a space, feels a bit empty. And then maybe you have an NPC, we call these like non-player characters in worlds. Historically, they've been scripted. So you played World of Warcraft. Who has played World of Warcraft in here, by the way? Just checking the gamer status. Yeah, poor. But anyway, World of Warcraft is a big, massive multiplayer online game. And like you have some bots in there when you need to get a quest to like, maybe you have to get a sword somewhere or kill some monsters or whatnot. And that bot that you then had, which was a character in the world, would then tell you like, oh, nice to meet you, like, I'm blah, and like, get the sword. Scripted. He does exactly what he's programmed to do. Now, AIs will fill virtual worlds, digital spaces, with life because they act like humans. They become like true characters you can interact with, build relationships with. But not only that, they allow us to construct these worlds much more effectively. Automatic building and generating procedurally of digital spaces and worlds. So that's one aspect of like what really elevates the gaming experience, but also the simulation at large, which expands to like the enterprise and corporate side. Another example would be increase in compute capacity. It's an incredibly important aspect. Like that notion of like, hey, everybody will spend an increasing amount of his time in the virtual reality. Well, like I have no idea how we're gonna power that to begin with, right? And how we're gonna power like this on the basis of the compute that's available today. It's expensive to render really immersive virtual worlds that you spend your time in concurrency with other players or people. So we need better compute, like faster compute, and more efficient compute to actually get that done. To not like mess up with the climate even more than we do already. So that's something that's making profound like progress. Networking and edge computing is an incredibly important aspect of all of this because again, the immersion that you and me and like some others here might play something together or just like work together or build friendships together in a virtual world, it all falls apart if there's lag. If like a character is like, oh, you're here and then all of a sudden you're there and there's a glitch, it feels like a glitch in the simulation. It's not a simulation anymore. Like I'm not in the real world. Like it's something that's broken, right? Shouldn't happen. So the advances in 5G, edge computing, efficient cloud computing are all things that are making a step function change in how these worlds come together. One that's incredibly important for people here, we're at a blockchain conference after all, right, is actually the blockchain. Virtual worlds, the digital twin of the physical world. Simulations that actually become ever more like digital societies, which is a fascinating topic we should talk about next, but they need the properties of the physical world. Those properties, to a big extent, is digital, is ownership of assets. Digital ownership can only be proven with one single technology as far as we're concerned today, and that's the blockchain. The blockchain is one other building block that has been coming together to form what the metaverse, again, I hate the term, but like ultimately is, and that's why we're investing also in games that profoundly and substantially build on the blockchain to provide you true digital asset ownership. And I will remind you as well that Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, built Ethereum to quite a big extent because he was upset that somebody took the sword in World of Warcraft away from him that he had earned for himself. I want to fix that. I want to have real asset ownership on the digital assets that I own and should have by myself, maybe even trade with somebody else, just like I have in the physical world, right? That's some of the aspects that we all see coming together in gaming, which transcend beyond gaming in many other areas of application. Oftentimes it's the games industry that pushes the boundary on innovation. NVIDIA was built on gaming demand. Yeah? So we invest in the gaming space for that thesis that I mentioned, but also because we believe that the gaming technology transcends beyond what we do in gaming and build as products.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a point that I pretty much would love to explore going forward. But before that, it's a bit more interesting to understand, like, where does, or how innovations happen in this field, right? So I'd love to go back to you, Eugen. At ZF, when you are looking at these technologies, the use cases for you, right? Is there specific industries or sectors that you take a lot of inspiration and know-how from?
First of all, usually we like to have disputes in panels, but in this case, I could not agree more. Because when I, for instance, joined 10 years ago at ZF, I immediately told my team, I said, I want to have an avatar for myself. A little bit of kidding, I would like to send this avatar into boring meetings, and maybe this avatar could behave. And then years after, I had my voice where my team was saying, "Oh, that's scary," etc. So, but also you tapped already in this topic, the manifestation of trust. That's extremely important. Here come the distributed ledger technologies, blockchain comes in. But coming to your question, I believe in multidisciplinary teams. I believe in stealing with pride from others. So I immediately told also we have to learn from the gaming industry, because what I learned many years ago in my role as a CIO, where a CEO of NetApp, he told me, we always look into consumer technologies first, because there you have technology at scale, low cost, high quality, etc. And instead of building a niche technology for a niche application, let's look first in what's going on in mass application. And the gaming industry, they push the boundary. When I joined ZF also, one former colleague, he had been then key account manager of NVIDIA. I immediately connected this guy Serkan Aslan with our tech team and R&D, and then the CEO. So we were then also pioneering these things together with NVIDIA, and today ZF is also high-performance compute manufacturer, that we are manufacturing high-performance compute for cars. And so there, of course, these GPUs are, so we are using this technology, tapping into the potentials, not reinventing the wheel. And then I believe in multidisciplinary teams working with any kind of partnerships to explore new grounds.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's really interesting that you are taking a lot of inspiration from the gaming industry. And coming back to you, Professor, so when you kind of look at many technologies, right, and you kind of see the adoption cycle that they go through. When you're looking at, I know that you don't like the term, but still, for the sake, if you look at metaverses or extended reality and kind of use cases emerging from that, what's your view on it? Is it more sort of than the experimentation kind of research area, or do you really see kind of mature products and services actually coming out at the moment?
Yeah, with our department, we are doing research on augmented reality since more than 10 or 15 years. And we already 10 years ago, we said the breakthrough will be in 2 years. Yeah, and maybe we say it again. But I really think that we see already a lot of augmented reality applications, and every smartphone can do augmented reality by now. It's just built in, and they are fast enough to do that. But with the integration of the different technologies like Web3, which I see as somehow as the backbone or the operating system for metaverse-based applications, because of, as Jens said, identity, trading of tokens, giving identity to things, to people, to players, owning things, exchanging things, and all the rest. That's so important. And now with AI, of bringing also creativity into the whole game. I think that we now have reached a state that we can move forward into more advanced applications. I think it's not yet there that everybody is somehow being present in the metaverse from time to time. That's more in the gaming industry. But I think also in the real world, there will be more and more occasions where we just go from time to time in a simulation environment to do something, to meet with other people. Maybe in the future, we have all teams, we have our boxes there, that we really go into some more immersive environments to interact with other people, doing creative sessions, which is much easier to do than using just a 2D whiteboard stuff and seeing the characters of the rest. And while we are still in most meetings, we read emails while other people talk. And I think if we move this into immersive environments, we have more fun in meetings, still depending on the content. But I think these are the things that become more and more mature. But on the other hand, we may also need some more or better hardware. I mean, we all thought that now Apple is bringing the Apple Vision Pro, and now we have the breakthrough. Somehow it's not yet the case. I'm not sure which hardware will really make the breakthrough for playing around with that and really having, I mean, for special sessions, operating a machine, learning something, it's brilliant, but probably not yet for a long, long time, for several hours. Only some very dedicated people do this at the moment, but not the normal person.
Okay, absolutely. And Jens, you kind of touched a little bit on the topic of Web3 and why that sort of intersection is interesting for you. And when you look at the kind of innovations that are happening now, right, would you say that these are, if you look at metaverse and extended reality and Web3, they are developing in their own sort of separate silos, or do you see products coming out of the intersection of it? And I was also wondering if you could share with the audience how will be my experience different in sort of a Web3 enabled experience versus sort of a Web2 enabled experience? Why is it so crucial to have Web3 kind of attached to the future metaverses or extended reality experiences?
So Web3 is sort of containing some of the aspects and elements that is the protocol stack that ultimately makes up the metaverse or allows the metaverse to come together in the way that we hopefully all want to see it. Again, a future that is Mark Zuckerberg owning the metaverse is a future that would look like Snow Crash or Ready Player One. So nobody wants that, right? We want the digital the simulation to be a place where we all contribute and are able to contribute, just like the internet as a protocol stack allowed us to contribute ourselves, become part of the conversation, contribute to the conversation as part of Web2, and trustlessly access resources, Web3, across the internet protocol to basically shape our own lives in all the different aspects that we have. And that is where Web3, with those properties, is an aspect of what this digital clone of our physical world is made up of. But it's some of the properties. It's not all of them, but it's fundamentally important properties. I think the properties that are probably most profound and will make the most profound difference are just when it's really aha, I'm here, is the HMD, the head-mounted display, the device that you wear, which gives you that feeling of okay, I'm in the digital world right now. This is it. This is a different space, but I can feel presence. It is those who have experimented, who've spent time with Oculus or any other Pico or any other HMD, they will feel this is a different way of interacting with the simulation. I feel real presence. I feel real presence of others, and it gives you a much more profound feeling, I'm in the digital world, right? So HMDs, and that is absolutely correct, they need to come down in size. They need to become way more convenient. There needs to be a couple of issues around compute as well and connectivity, but ultimately, once they reach a form factor where you don't have a cable, it's a nightmare. Why would Apple build something with a cable? Steve Jobs would kill himself. It's ridiculous, right? So it needs to be extremely easy to wear, extremely convenient to wear, just like it's convenient to just pull out your phone and look on the screen more briefly, right? And not feel like I have something that like hinders me or encumbers me. So HMDs, the next generation, I think we're gonna be there. Like we see interesting experiments right now with the Ray-Ban glasses. I think they're like some of the most profound like progress that we've seen in quite some time. But we're getting there. Give it another 5 years, and I think we have the form factor that is just like, okay, I don't want to put these off anymore, and you will forget about it, right? Just like you forget about today how addicted you are to freaking phone and looking at it every 10 minutes. The convenience of that, we'll have it in 5 years, I guess. The other part that's incredibly important, as we talked about before, is those property rights, digital identity, the blockchain, bring that to the table, and compute. Again, we require an enormous amount of compute to render these digital worlds at scale. The good news is, with the investment that we see going into compute right now, driven by AI dominantly, have been driven by blockchain to some extent. Before, I think there's new generations of processing coming out and compute coming out with some breakthroughs that we see happening that is definitely going to get us there. But that's like a time scale of like more like 5 to 10 years rather than 2 or 3 years. But yeah, these key technologies are really the ones that I think will make the most profound difference for this entering all of our lives in more profound ways.
Absolutely, makes sense. And Jürgen, coming back to you, so just about the Web3 angle, right? You know, when you are looking at the use cases that are relevant at ZF, is this also something that you are exploring? Have you found areas where you could integrate Web3 in your services?
Just reflecting on what I've heard here in the panel. So for me, I think it's amazing and breathtaking how this progress has been. So we right away started to experiment with HoloLens 1 from Microsoft, second generation, but it was always too clumsy, and people were getting dizzy and all these things. But the Apple Vision Pro is making a huge step forward already, and I anticipate 5 years from now, as you said, it will be a complete difference. But I think we need to also sharpen the focus on what matters. ZF has 160,000 people. Does everyone needs to have such kind of technology? No. But I give you one specific example. Even in our product areas, we have a product that's called Rescue Connect. This is for instance, fire armies. Connected cars, and also firefighters, or also in medical emergency rescue workers, etc. Every second counts. And then if you have a connected the fleet of the fire brigade connected, everybody connected, and also the fireworkers connected, knowing the environment, knowing the Berlin or Frankfurt, sorry, because we did it with Berlin. So we had Berlin, so immersive, this kind of the entire the buildings and the streets and everything, and then you have also a control tower. So this is really making a difference, where this immersive, together with connectivity in real time, will save lives. And that's exactly to look at the use cases that are changing, game changers in specific situations, and there it's already available, and it will. To my opinion, accelerate even.
Absolutely. I think I can go on with questions for the kind of whole afternoon, but you know, we are hitting end of the timeline limitation. So